Okay, welcome to Coffee with the Mayor. It's October 14th of 2022, and my special guest today is Dr. Dan Keyser from the Stoughton Area School District, and he's going to go through a presentation on the referendum, and I know he has some folks with him to support him as well. So I'll leave the floor to Dan. When he's ready here, we'll get started.
All right, good afternoon, or morning, afternoon. I don't even know what day it is. No, it's Friday. Good morning, my name's Dan Keyser. I'm the new district administrator here in the Stoughton Area School District, and I'm joined by my colleague.
Good morning, my name is Pickett. I'm the Director of Business Services. I've been with the district for about 20 years now, so Dan and I are representing the new and the old here in our school system.
We're also joined with representatives from our architect and building firm, UA and Findorf, if there are questions at the end of our presentation. What we intend to do is be presenting the information about our upcoming referendum. So when you think about our school district and all the successes that we've had over the several years and try to put it on one slide, very near impossible. But our successes as a community and as a district that are highlighted on here would not be possible without our excellent facilities. The facility structure that we have and the way that we have maintained it over the years have provided safe learning environments and also been well loved and maintained by our facility staff, our maintenance and our custodial staff, that have extended the life of our facilities well beyond what typically would normally be designed for that. And as a result, we need to come and ask our community for support as we move forward. So why do we want to approach the facility referendum right now? And I apologize, got my little notes here so I don't miss the important things. Every year we look at our facilities budget, and we want to make sure that we budget annually for our facilities referendums, or our facilities, and not take away from the core instructional dollars that we have. And so while we budget annually for our facilities and maintenance, there's just certain things that cost way too much. When you start to think about multi-million-dollar roofing projects or updating flooring or heating and ventilation or lighting, those things sometimes don't always fall within the annual budget. So we rely, and districts across the state rely on referendum dollars to address those needs. In doing our facility study, which started back in 2017-2018, we've identified three key areas: safety and security, capital maintenance, and educational environments as needs moving forward.
So it's important to look at the November 8th referendum as part of a greater long-range planning process. As you can see, the district started this process back in 2017, where we conducted a district-wide facilities assessment study. Since that point in time, we have taken that information along with our ongoing district facility plans, and we have collected a lot of community feedback. We held a series of workshops last spring. We had a district-wide community engagement survey that went out last spring as well, and we received that information back over the summer. And ultimately that led to the board creating the proposed solution by asking 2 referendum questions this November. They approved that resolution last July. So as we worked through that process, we used the guiding principles that you see here as a way to guide our work. You can see that those principles included remaining fiscally responsible, operating within our district's equity framework, trying to plan long-term for flexibility within our facilities, keeping safety and security front of mind. That's something that is all very important. It's very important to all of us, something we hear a lot about every day. Again, really important to listen to community and staff input. Again, going back to the series of workshops and surveys that we've conducted to support that idea. And then really looking at our facilities as community-wide assets. How can we continue to support that concept as well? And then again, just really important to look at implementing sustainable practices whenever possible. Dan referenced earlier how we're really proud of our facilities and how well maintained they've been. We've also tried really hard to minimize the need to go to a facility referendum. And as you can see here, the history of when some of those referendums occurred. When we look at Dane County, there's 18 schools in Dane County. 16 of those schools have gone to a facilities referendum since 2010. These districts attempted 37 facility questions. 31 of those questions were successful. And again, we try really hard to minimize that whenever possible. And the last time we were attempting a facility referendum was 2010.
So the Stoughton Area School District Board of Education adopted 2 questions for the November 8th ballot. Question 1 is prioritizing our highest district-wide capital maintenance needs. And question 2 is looking at improving safety and avoiding significant maintenance work at a building that has had a long life here in the community by replacing the community gym and building a new gym and fitness area onto the River Bluff Middle School campus. Before we jump into the preliminary floor plans, here's a legend that will be of reference as we go through the upcoming slides. The top one with the horizontal or the diagonal stripes is capital maintenance. So these are mechanical systems that are going to be updated, replaced. These include plumbing fixtures replacements. The center, the green, is heavy renovation. These are areas where there's going to be major renovations. We're talking getting all the way down to the studs, moving walls, doors for ADA compliance, and so forth. And then the bottom orange is new construction, mainly at the high school level. So let's take a look at question 1 here. We're addressing our highest priority district capital maintenance needs in all 5 of our buildings, our district office, as well as the maintenance building. The question includes work on our systems and energy efficiency, safety and security, as well as facility maintenance updates. Specifically, zooming in on the high school, our project includes heavy renovations in our cafeteria, kitchen, and serving lines, some of which date back to the original building of the high school. Question 1 includes replacing and upgrading plumbing fixtures, roofing, and the roof hatch. We're also going to be looking at replacing and updating mechanical equipment, our digital controls, our door operators and access controls for safety, and flooring throughout the building. We're also going to be renovating our existing kitchen and cafeteria area so that we can accommodate more students staying on campus in an updated environment.
So at the River Bluff campus, the first question includes plans to remove the maintenance building and replace it elsewhere in the district. This will really open up additional green space in the campus, which will provide more flexibility in the future. So this area over here is where there currently is a maintenance building located. Question 1 also includes replacing outdated plumbing, HVAC equipment, as well as updating the fire alarm and security systems at River Bluff Middle School.
When we jump over to Fox Prairie Elementary Schools, as well as all of our elementary schools, we'll be looking at capital maintenance projects throughout the building. We're going to be looking at updating our doors for ADA compliance. We're going to be looking at electrical upgrades, as well as doing some acoustical panel replacement, some casework replacement, and heating and ventilation updates. At Kaganza, it will see very much the same thing as I described at Fox Prairie. Notably, when we take a look at our plumbing fixtures and piping, we'll also be updating outdated kitchen equipment and repairing cracked asphalt throughout the building. Our district is going to be looking at continuing its discussion around Kaganza in the upcoming years. With this capital question, it will extend the life of Kaganza for up to 10 years if needed. But in a multi-phase process, we'll continue to talk about Kaganza and what might we do with that building moving forward. And then finally, at Sandhill Elementary School, we're going to be looking at asphalt replacement, door operators and access controls, as well as looking at replacing new drinking fountains and updating the mechanical equipment.
So question 1 also includes demolishing the current Yahara Elementary School building, but we would keep the existing Yahara gym that's still utilized by our school district as well as our community. And as of right now, we would be looking to put a new and replacement maintenance building on that particular site. Again, this would open up a significant amount of green space at River Bluff Elementary School.
As we jump into question 2, that question is looking at removing the old community gym and adding on a new gym and fitness center onto the River Bluff Middle School campus. This would avoid significant and costly renovations to the community gym building, and the addition would improve the safety and make the space accessible to all. And finally, the project scope will also add to the green space by lengthening the parent drop-off loop and separating the bus and vehicle traffic as well as pedestrian traffic. We're also looking at adding solar, both in the maintenance project as well as on this project.
So the project scope for question number 2 does include removing the old community gym building and constructing a new gym addition onto River Bluff Middle School. This would avoid significant and costly renovations to the community gym building, which it currently needs. It would also improve safety and make the space accessible to all. These pictures here show the current entryway of the community gym building, and there is no elevator in that building to make it easy for those with mobility needs. The project scope also includes adding green space, as Dan mentioned, lengthening that parent drop-off and pickup loop, and then separating bus and parent traffic whenever possible.
So with those projects in mind, let's take a look at exactly what the November 8th ballot's going to look like. Question 1 is asking for $36.3 million to address our district's highest priority capital maintenance projects, addressing the categories that we've mentioned: systems and energy efficiency, safety and security, and facility maintenance projects. The actual ballot language is over on the right-hand side of the screen. And in question 2, we're asking for $11.7 million that's going to improve the safety and avoid significant maintenance work by adding a new gym. Oops, next slide. There we go. Adding a new gym and fitness area to the River Bluff campus. Similarly, on the right-hand side is our ballot language. This language was given to us by our lawyers and is actually what's going to be on the ballot. If you would like to know and see exactly what the ballot's going to look like, there will be a link a little bit later on in the slide, but you can also go to our district website, and on our referendum webpage, we actually have a sample ballot that you can view.
So this district has been really fortunate to be part of an extremely supportive community. We know that we wouldn't be where we are today without the generosity of our stakeholders in our community. We do strive to be financially responsible to all of our constituents. The district had a referendum in 2010, as I mentioned before, that took advantage of interest-free federal stimulus bonds, which we were able to couple with a restructuring of existing debt. So that debt was acquired without any impact to our taxpayers or our mill rate. After our 2014 operational referendum, we've used the resources obtained there to support our programs and services for kids with a combination of enrollment-driven staffing reductions. In 2015, the district established a capital improvement fund that allows us to transfer operational funds in any given year and then accumulate those funds to address some of these larger capital maintenance needs without having to look for all of that through a referendum. And now our mill rate has declined nearly 10% over the last 5 years, and we are projected to be debt-free in 2023. Paying off all of our existing debt leaves us with a unique opportunity to pursue a referendum to address some of these needs while minimizing the impact on our taxpayers. Our enrollment in Stoughton has been declining for the past 20 years. We do see some small glimmers of hope in the housing market, and we do remain committed to partnering with our city and our townships to continue to look at how we can attract folks to our community. Why are we doing this? We really feel that responsible community growth is good for our community, and it's really important for our school district. From a district perspective, community growth leads to enrollment growth. Stemming this downward trend is really, really important from a financial perspective and is one of the things that we feel we can do to best serve our students and families that call Stoughton home. All right, here's where I run into the challenge of holding a microphone, notes, and a clicker. All right, so here's where I get on my soapbox a little bit and talk just about school operational revenues in general. And again, with the idea of being transparent, we want people to understand, the facility side of the house and also where we face some operational challenges. School resources have been controlled by revenue limits since 1993, and it's a really complicated formula, but to simplify it best, every district receives a certain amount per student, and essentially that amount is multiplied by a 3-year membership average. So the number of kids that we have times a certain amount per student. That 3-year membership count and that revenue limit really controls how much we receive in the form of property taxes and general state aid. In addition to those two sources, we receive a per pupil categorical aid that is also controlled by how many kids we have. Those 3 sources of revenue equal 90% of our total income in the district. So that really determines how much money we have to spend for our operational purposes. When revenue limits were first put in place, again going back to 1993, that amount per student was increased annually to keep up with inflation. So enrollment declines were a challenge, but we were able to at least receive an amount that could kind of keep up with the cost of inflation. Over the past decade or so, the state has not allocated a consistent, dependable increase in how much we receive per student. In the most recent biennium budget, you can see that the increases we received per student was $0. And again, not receiving any kind of an increase right now has created some significant budget challenges. Part of the reason why the state determined that there would be no increases per student is because districts received a fair amount of federal COVID relief funding, and we were basically directed to use those funds to help balance our budget for the next 2 years. And being a finance person, I will tell you that trying to balance your budget using one-time resources is not sustainable, and I don't think it's best practice. However, we are doing that, and again, trying our best to communicate to people that when you're using your savings account to pay for your ongoing bills, it becomes a challenge when that savings account runs out. And we think it's really important to maintain high quality programs and services for our kids and to maintain high quality facilities for our kids as well as our community. And again, just trying to be transparent with some of those financial challenges that do lie ahead for us. Again, knowing that we're doing our best to be as fiscally responsible as possible, we want to know, what does this referendum mean for our taxes right now? This slide here shows the estimated tax impact if that November 8th referendum question is approved. Question 1 shows an impact of about $52 per year per $100,000 of home value. That is the impact compared to what you are currently paying for our debt service levy. Question 2, if that were to pass, would be an additional $38 per $100,000 of home value on top of that amount. So the two combined are about $90 per year per $100,000 of home value.
Yep. So this slide provides information about how to vote and where you can get more voting information. This is the link that I referred to earlier. If you go to myvotewisconsin.gov, it also has information. Not only you put in your address, it will tell you your polling place. It will also give you examples of what your ballot is. The referendum questions are on the back of the ballot. And then it also gives you information around your voting options. So if you're a person who likes to register to vote by absentee or vote early, it gives you that information. We, by law, as representatives of the school district, can only provide the information and answer any questions. We encourage in all of our sessions people to ask questions so that you can be informed when you go to the polls on November 8th, and we encourage all of you to make it out to the polls and vote on November 8th. If you want to have another chance at this presentation, we have a few more presentations that will be coming up here. In addition to this, we are here today to answer your questions, but there's also information on our website, or you could give us a call or send us an email. So we thank you for your time and attention, and if you have any questions, myself, Erica, as well as our representatives from EUA and Findorf can answer them. Sir?
Question. The community investment, the taxation requirement, how, this lists the per year, but for how many years would taxpayers be required to pay?
Yeah, the typical, that's a good question. So the typical payback period, the debt is usually a 20-year period of time.
Okay, so
Yep.
that would be an extra amount for 20 years.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
And that's up to 20 years, and it's also based on our current housing market. It does not include any of the additional housing that the mayor has talked about in his previous coffees here. So as additional homes come and are built and occupied, that also spreads that out.
Thank you.
Good question. Yes.
What was the percentage of feedback from the community on the survey that was sent out? I mean, did you get a large feedback from that so that you knew what we were feeling?
That's a great question too. We really did. So I would say, I don't remember the exact number of responses we received, but it was well beyond the number of responses that sort of statistically create predictive feedback. And I will say, actually, the company that we worked with to do that survey, we've used for many surveys for a number of years. Our community's response rate is always really quite incredible. So, while I can't give you the exact number of responses we had, absolutely, it was definitely very responsive. We had a lot of people return that information, and again, to the point where they felt like the response rate was more than enough to be predictive.
Good questions. All right.
There's got to be more fun.
We're practicing our good wait time.
Well, I have one
Yeah.
more.
Sure.
Go for it.
I'm fairly new to the community, but I do pick up my granddaughter at Orange Bluff Middle School, and I don't know what that big old building is sitting there. And I've heard that there's a consensus of a small majority in the community that should be saved, but then others say that it's well beyond its function and it should be removed. What is that building? What's the history?
So the 1892 building is Stoughton's original, I believe, standalone high school.
Okay.
And it is a building that is on a local, a state, and a national historic registry. And I think you summed it up very well. I think there are just different perspectives about whether or not that building should be maintained and kept, and whether or not it really serves a useful purpose. But there were some questions on the community feedback survey, and realistically, if the district were to want to pursue a use or a removal of that building, it would be quite a process. Removal would require that be removed from those registries, and I know our local landmarks commission has been involved in some conversations around that, but as of right now, there's nothing in either of these questions that addresses that facility, and it's definitely something where long-term, there may need to be some additional conversations about that, but there's nothing right now that's intending to address that.
What is its function today then?
There's nothing happening in that building, and there's really nothing in that building. It basically serves as some storage on occasion for something that if we're going to be recycling light bulbs or whatever, they'll be there temporarily. But really, there's nothing in that building right now.
Well, do the taxpayers maintain that? If there's a leak or in the roof or?
Yes. Yeah. So if there's a leak in the roof or something, yes, we do have to fix that.
We meaning the.
We meaning the school district.
Oh, the school district.
The school.
It is a school district facility. We own that building.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And all utilities have been shut off to that, so it minimizes the impact to our district budget.
And Abby over there did give me some information. We had 1,530 responses, which is an 18% participation rate, which is actually pretty good for a community-wide survey. Thanks, Abby.
Go for it.
Back on the old high school, the 1892 building, has there been any interest from the business community to buy that for turning it into a business of any type? Have you considered selling it?
So I will say, in my 20 years, I haven't had a business approach me about purchasing that. There have been efforts for over the years, multiple times, to discuss what might be possible. And at one point in time, there was some minor exploration about what it might, could we sell it? Because that question did pop up. I think the reality is that the location of it is literally right on the middle school campus. If the district were to pursue, separating out that chunk of property and then trying to sell it, there's really not much access. There wouldn't be any parking for it.
Gotcha.
And then realistically, if a business, let's just say, were to be there in the middle of the day while school was going on, you would just add to some of the congestion, the traffic flow. And we'd want to make sure, like from our perspective as a district, we would want to make sure that whatever was happening there wouldn't be intrusive to the educational environment, because we have kids in school learning during the day. So I think really the location of that building does add to the challenges around what options might exist. And I know we even have people ask, like, well, can you move it? Because, right now in the multiple buildings, but it's huge. And when you look at where it's located, that would be really tricky with power lines and the street width and houses and all sorts of things. So it's a little tricky.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I threw up an aerial view of the campus so you can see where the 1892 building is right here, and it's right adjacent to the middle school campus there. Good question. And I appreciate Erica answering that, because she's been here a lot longer than me.
Not quite since 1892.
20 years, you said, so you got this context. Thank you. Thank you so much for having us here. Thank you to Mayor Swadley for allowing us the opportunity. And again, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to the school district and ask your questions. We'll be having some Q&A sessions also coming up in the remaining 3 weeks before the election. And then as you saw, we have our communications specialist who's monitoring our emails and our social media feeds, so that when we have questions, we update it. And we meet with our partners weekly and update our website. So as questions come in, we can respond to those and provide those updates. So with that, thank you so much. Go for it. So in the community gym, there's a practice wrestling area space, and yes, that would move over as part of this new.
What about all the gym equipment, stuff that they use?
Yes, that would be moved.
Strength building?
Yep, all of that would be moved over as well.
All right, very good. While I'm setting up, I'll just have a few comments about the school district. We're going through our budget process right now, so I certainly feel their pain. And what's happening in the school district is similar to what's happening with the city. The school district is really limited by the formula that Erica explained. And the purpose of the formula for the city and for the school district is to keep property taxes down and to encourage more growth in the state of Wisconsin. The trouble is it hasn't been working. And what happens is, if you do the math, it's been basically 12 years since the school district did a maintenance referendum. And the first question is for 35 million. So for simple math, let's say it was 36 million. That means that the school district is underfunded by $3 million a year just on maintenance. And that doesn't include operations. And what's happening is the school district is forced to defer maintenance so they can make sure they have enough teachers in the classroom and provide the students the education they need. And when you defer maintenance and then you borrow through referendum to take care of your maintenance, it costs more money. Because every year you don't do something, the price goes up the following year. And then when you wait 10, 12 years, now you have to pay interest on a 20-year bond in order to maintain your buildings. Financially, that's not a good plan. And I think the state of Wisconsin really needs to take a look at how they're funding school districts. And it's very true with operations as well. And what's going on right now is it's a political war at the state level. So here in Dane County, what I learned in the last week is that Dane County makes up 9.5% of the total population in Wisconsin. In the last 10 years, according to the census, 36% of the population growth in the state of Wisconsin is happening in Dane County. So basically, what is happening is people are moving here, and we have to provide the services for the people that move here in Dane County, whether it's transportation or housing or human services or, police, fire, EMS, plow the roads, all those sorts of things. And financially, what's happening is that the prices of everything is going up. We all know that. We see that at the grocery store. It's true for us. For if we order salt for the snow in the winter, if we, anything we do is costing us more money. So as the price of everything goes up, Dane County and the state are collecting more sales tax. So they have all sorts of money right now, and they're not sharing that with the school district or the city. So you think about that, with all the pricing going up, the state of Wisconsin is sitting on billions of dollars worth of money, and they're not willing to invest it in our school districts or in our municipalities, especially here in Dane County, where we're really carrying the water. We're the ones that are creating all that money through the growth that we're doing, and we're providing all the services here locally. So that's kind of what's going on in the big picture. And the other thing at the state, what we've seen, and I'm sure the school district has seen, in order to try to recruit and retain our employees, we have to pay them more money. We're losing a lot of people to the private sector right now. We have other municipalities contacting our employees, trying to encourage them to go work somewhere else and pay them more money. So as wages go up, the state also collects additional income tax. So they're sitting on that money as well. And the struggle for us is trying to convince them that it's a good idea and would actually save taxpayers money in the long run if they would give us more money so we don't have to borrow and defer maintenance. So that's kind of what's going on here, and that's really what's creating the conundrum for all of us right now. So I just wanted to share that before I get started here, because it's really frustrating, and we're all trying to do the best we can. Well, I'm just calling it like it is. And so if you're having conversations with people at the state level, have those conversations. Those are the messages I take to our lobbyists to try to encourage them to tell the state of Wisconsin to support your municipalities and your school district, especially here in Dane County, because if Dane County doesn't grow, the state of Wisconsin goes nowhere, and that is providing jobs and providing places for people to live and providing safe and quality schools for our students. We all deserve that. I don't think that's too much to ask. So I'll get into my slides unless anybody has any questions about that.
I got a comment.
Sure, go ahead.
How many people know where Ron Johnson grew up? Yeah, our senator.
where he grew up?
Do not
Huh?
know.
Where did he grow up?
Where did he grow up? I don't
Nobody knows.
Oh, you don't either?
How about Mankato, Minnesota? He's a golfer. Then he says, oh yeah, well, you can move if you want to get an abortion.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Minnesota's abortion-free, so you can go there, or Illinois. But Ron Johnson is from Mankato, Minnesota, and Mankato has Mankato State University. They have a wonderful business program, I understand. I went to St. Cloud in Minnesota.
Does that make you a gopher too?
But anyway, Ron went up to the University of Minnesota, and he's a golfer. He doesn't care about the Badgers, and there's a guy in Minnesota that's from Mankato that became a millionaire, billionaire, and he owned the basketball team, professional, soccer team, volleyball team, and he also owns the Minneapolis Star and Tribune, which is the biggest paper in Minnesota. But he's pretty level. But Johnson, he found a woman up there from Kenosha. I think it's Kenosha, isn't it?
I don't.
On the lake. Well, anyway, he found a woman in a sorority. I'm going to ask him. I want to know, how long did he live there at the sorority? But anyway, he married her, moved to Kenosha, where daddy had this business, and they built up this. Well, you know the rest of the story.
Yeah. So let me get into the program here. So
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
everybody wants to know when the roundabouts are going to be done.
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
But that's where
Okay.
it came from.
So I'll give you an update. So the roundabouts are supposed to be done today, and they're getting pretty close. They'll probably be finishing up what we call restoration, which is some of the lighting, some of the signage, as well as the grass. But for the most part, they're functional. So hopefully by the end of the day today, they'll be clearing out some of the barricades. Yeah, that'll be nice. We did meet with Dane County this morning. They're already doing some plans for next year. So Dane County is going to be doing Highway B next year, just so the school district knows that. So somebody should be reaching out to you. I don't know, for busing, you might want to know that. And you can, yeah, so they're going to go from B all the way to basically N. So you can contact Rodney for the details on that one. So that'll be a big project for next year. The DOT is also working on a corridor project, and they're still looking for input on the stretch from Page Street up to Whole Avenue. As far as right now, it's currently a 4-lane, and what they're proposing is to do a 3-lane and use the middle lane for the left turn signal. So if you have any thoughts about how that would work, you can go on the DOT's website and fill out a form for that one. There was a informational meeting about 10 days ago. It wasn't really that well attended, but they did get some feedback, and they'll still take some via their website. Development is in full swing out on 51 West. If you've been out there, you'll notice that the brown where the apartments are, they have the foundation in. They have put the slabs on top of the foundation, which form the ceiling for the underground parking, and I anticipate they'll do some framing here yet this year. So they're moving along. The road connecting from Nygaard to the new road of Greenspire is connected to Highway 51 now, and there's kind of a merge lane there, which we think is ideal. And then the Velcom Way part that used to go to 51 has been basically vacated, so that's no longer an option to get in and out of there. But we think it's going to be a good long-term solution out there. This is kind of what it looks like on an aerial. So you can kind of see where Velcom Way ends. It kind of tees there, and as you go toward the north, the new road connects out to Highway 51. And just onto the right of that where it ends, you can see where ultimately it'll extend into that former Linnerud property that Stoughton Trailers has purchased. Here's another view of what it looks like here. So the apartment, you can kind of see out there right now, there's going to be a total of, I believe, 3 units there, and then also some duplexes will be here kind of over by the trees. And we anticipate that they're already starting to do some work on them as well. And then here's just one more view kind of coming from 51. The PD has a new drone, so if the school district needs any drone, we have some people that are certified to fly them. So if you want to get some views of your properties, just let us know. And then I think this is the last one maybe. So it just kind of gives you an idea what's going on there.
With that road there,
Yes, sir.
as you're going out of town, you've got a turn lane to turn right.
Right here?
Right.
Yes.
Why isn't there a turn lane to go left? There's a lot of accidents right at that intersection. And a lot of times it's because people trying to get across in front of you. Yeah.
Yeah, so what we did is we worked with the DOT. They did a traffic count study, and based on that, they added this lane here. Eventually, there's going to be a roundabout here in 2026. That's the plan. So on this side here, when we looked at the other map, this is the commercial area. And what we've been told, if this commercial area was fully built out, that they would exceed the traffic level, and that roundabout would need to be done sooner than 2026 at a cost of $2 million. Since they were going to do some intersection work here anyway, as part of their project going from Coachman's all the way out to McFarland, our cost is only going to be about $200,000 to do that roundabout. So if we wait till 2026, we're going to save $2 million. If somebody develops this before 2026, they're going to have to pay for that roundabout. So that's kind of what's going on there. I should get a pointer like you guys have. This one here is Kettle Park West, and this is behind Walmart. So this is Walmart down here. Jackson Street's going through. And one of the things that we have to do is, this is Oak opening down here that goes to Stoughton Lumber. Actually, yeah, over here goes to Stoughton Lumber. It's kind of down in here. So this road here is going all the way through now, and we have to run a water line up here to connect this development to the previous one for 51 West, so they can develop the west side. That'll probably be done in the spring, and then they can start developing over there. They're not allowed to pull a building permit on the west side of the 51 West project until that water line is done, and that was something we had to negotiate because that's actually town of Rutland land there. So in turn, what we're going to do is, for getting permission to run the water line, we're basically going to plow a couple roads for them and maintain them for them. That was kind of the trade-off. And redo the road going in there by Stoughton Lumber, which is much needed. It'll be wider, be able to ride bikes on it as well. And then currently, Lennar, the largest home builder in the United States, is working up here, putting in some houses. They have at least one model home that they're going to use, and then there's a few other ones popping up now as they're selling them. They're starting to build them. I believe they pulled like 28 building permits right now. There'll be about 200 units total when this is all done in the next few years, and it'll just be built out as fast as people can buy them. So hopefully they'll buy them soon, because we all know we need more students for the school district. This is an example of the home that they're building right now. Basically 3 bedrooms, option for a basement, bedroom, and then this one here has a 2-car garage. This development here is what we call Magnolia Springs, and this is the one that used to be on the Tigan farm. So the plan here is to extend South Page into here, 4 streets over here, and then we'll have a connecting road going in here. And this one here was approved by the Capital Area Regional Planning Commission last night. So I was on 2 meetings at the same time, one with them and one with the budget, but somehow we got through it. And this got approved. So the plan for this one they're already moving dirt out there now, but the plan is to really start pulling permits probably in the spring and get this project going. This is Eldon Homes project. They're the company that purchased the remaining lots at Nordic Ridge, and they're building them out. These will be, the yellow are the single-family homes, the orange are the duplexes. We're working on what we call, this is a plat, this is a preliminary plat. We're still working on approval of the final plat. So it might change a little bit, but not significantly. And what we try to do is, as much as we could, preserve the trees that are up here, utilize the wetland as a feature in the park area here. What CARPC does as part of their approval process is they evaluate the stormwater. This is also a stormwater area to make sure that typically they have to design these projects to withstand a 100-year flood. And I'm happy to say that this project and the 51 West project were the first two projects in Dane County to be designed to handle the 200-year flood. So that's something that we've been asking our developers to do, which we think ultimately will be beneficial for the people that live there because nobody wants to have their basement flooded out. So what will happen is the water will go in the pond, it'll get filtered through here, and then eventually it goes in the river. And the Capital Area Regional Planning Commission, they go through the engineering and make sure that that plan will work. These homes here and these duplexes are going to be considered starter homes. Whatever that is, it's expensive. But we're hoping that, there'll be opportunities for first-time home buyers or people that just want a newer home, and then maybe it'll free up some inventory on homes that are a little bit less expensive. They're probably $350,000, give or take, a little bit on these to get them going, depending on what's going on with materials in the labor market. Interest rates are also a challenge right now, as we all know, but we're excited to see this one go as well. The black here are going to be trails. The trail will actually connect this park to the Lowell Park, which is by the community garden and where the zip line is. So that's one of the things that we've been trying to emphasize because we've had a lot of people during our surveys, even before COVID, but especially during COVID, that said we want more trails, we want more parks, we want them to connect, we want to be outside to do things. And those are the types of features that we believe will help attract young families to Stoughton. This one here is kind of south of town. This is part of the Massons. And right now, this area over here is kind of off a racetrack road. There's a subdivision there, it kind of dead ends. And their plan is to extend it. This part here would be the first phase. So they're going through and doing their due diligence right now to see whether or not it'll be cost effective for them to build. There would be a lot of sewer, water, stormwater type things that they'd have to evaluate and see what the cost would be to run that. They're looking at maybe some condos here, and we'll see how this turns out. This is very conceptual. It hasn't been a CARPC or anything like that yet. What we want them to do is put together a plan for the whole site, and then they can build it in whatever phases make sense financially for them. A couple new businesses that are open. Over by Subway, where the Clinky Cleaners used to be, there's a vapes and cigar place there. And then also there's a Northern Compass Boutique, which is, my wife enjoyed going there the other day. So we came out with less money than we went in, but that was a good thing. So it's kind of nice to have another new shop here in Stoughton. Edward Jones, as you might have known, moved their office from Main Street into the former Home Savings Bank. And then a couple other slides you might have seen before. This one here is downtown next to the new pizza place, and they're going to be putting in a framing shop as well as a cafe and custom gift cards into this building here. So the cafe will do some gluten-free smoothies and lattes and things like that. So they're still in the construction mode. The Andersons, which is Eldon Homes, they purchased the Kegonsa Plaza. They're in the process of remodeling to put their offices and kind of a display room there. So if you purchase a home from them or you want to see what they have for cabinets and trim and colors and those sort of things, you'll be able to go in there and talk to them. And then they'll have real estate and other professionals in there that can help you facilitate a home purchase process. There was a couple different restaurants there. There's going to be a new restaurant in there, and Ben and Joe Food is going to be the partners in there. And you may know Ben, he's the one that operates the Eat at Joe's food cart. So he does hibachi and sushi and gyros is their plan for that restaurant. So I saw him in there working last night. This is upstairs at Cheezer's. There was a bead shop there that moved into the former Edward Jones building I mentioned on Main Street, and that freed up the space for Cheezer's to put in an event area. So I stopped in there last night. They were a participant in the wine walk last night, and so you can have an event up there. There's been several things going on, so it's a nice addition to the downtown. And then this is the bead shop here that I had mentioned into the old Ed Jones building. And then this one here is the Bear Arms Performing Arts Center. This is down across from the Opera House. They have virtual gaming in there. It's kind of interesting. And then there's a pending sale. Hopefully, knock on wood, it closes today on the Nevermind Saloon. So that one might be going through new ownership. And then Movies in the Park wrapped up a couple weeks ago. It was successful. We're looking for input on what we might be able to do better next year. Some of the suggestions we've heard so far is to maybe start the older kids' movies earlier in the year when it gets darker later, and the younger kid movies later in the year when it gets darker earlier. Kids get a little anxious when it gets late. And then maybe possibly moving this around. This year all the movies were held at Nordic Ridge. We'd like to be able to go throughout the community so everybody has an opportunity to see a movie. And then, of course, Election Day is coming up here pretty quickly. In the next couple weeks, early voting will start at City Hall. I think I've mentioned to this group before, we have the Badger books. And the Badger books are basically the electronic version of the poll books that you would usually check in at when you get to the polls. And this is really streamlining the process. And then if you need to register, it's quicker to register in here than it was kind of manually the old-fashioned way. And then what this doesn't do, you don't use this for voting. It's not connected to the internet or anything like that. It's just strictly to keep track of people as they come in to register and get their number to vote. And then this is kind of a reminder from the clerk's office. So the first day of in-person absentee voting is on the 25th. So it's coming up in 11 days. And then, of course, Election Day is November 8th. So that's all I had today. Did you have any questions about anything? No questions? Okay. Well, thank you again for being here today, and I appreciate the school district being here as well to give you an update on where they're at. And I look forward to seeing you again next month. Police Chief Jenks is scheduled to be my guest next month. So